people with construction backgrounds, and ended up putting out a design-build proposal, and we ended up with grant construction. I could, at the end of the meeting today, if there's any questions about anything I'm going to breeze through here, please ask. I'm not going to give you all the year and a half of what we've gone through tonight. During the process, we asked for suggestions from the community, and decided that once we got to the point where we actually put together a building proposal, and this is a proposal still, we decided that we'd sit down with some of these community meetings and get more input as we go along. The whole project requires 2 votes from the board. 1 vote was taken this month, and it was approved. There'll be another vote in August. So this meeting, and probably more meetings after tonight, we will get more input. We're asking for any type of input. Once you watch the proposal, hear the financial situation of the new marina, anything you want to ask, you can ask. There's a lot of rumors out there. Okay? This is a building. This is a building for the future. We are suggesting as a committee to the community a larger building that is there now. There is a possibility down the road that that building may house a restaurant. That is a possibility. In the meantime, the future may call for the building to house all of the activities we have going on now, even more activities. And one of the reasons why the building is larger is so that we can grow with this building. At this point, I'd like to introduce Jim Johnson. He's going to go through the financials, and then we're going to have the presentation of the building. And then any questions during any of this, just raise your hand. This isn't like the board meetings where you're going to wait till the end. If you have a question, we'll be glad to answer it.
Thanks, Paul. I'd like to start with a particular thanks to Paul for what he's done on this project. Paul has a background, you would have no way of knowing this, but Paul has a fairly extensive background in construction. And he's been our liaison with the contractors. And if you want somebody to count something, I can count stuff. I don't know anything about that stuff. But he's been invaluable in that regard. In fact, he's handled all the communications with them on that. So thanks a lot for your effort on that. And also I'd like to thank all the people on the board, because this has been a long-term project that we've been working on. And we've made a lot of great progress on it. So thanks to all of them too. I want to amplify a few things that Paul said about why to replace the marina. Again, it's in pretty bad repair right now. And our committee looked at really 4 different locations for it. One would be in the building right next door. One was actually out towards on the point, where we might do something out there. Can you imagine? Wow, that would be incredible out there. But it would also block the view of the people who live on that side that don't have lakefront property. So that was pretty much of a killer on that, because we didn't want to take that away from them, because they don't really have lakefront positions there. Then we also were thinking about, if you can imagine, let me get oriented here. Okay, if this is the marina right here, and then you've got the boats coming down here, and then right across from it is the space that kind of is on a point looking northeast. Oh, that was the best as far as I was concerned. And it was like I had this image of like walking down a boardwalk in San Diego, you know, wearing my deck shoes and all this kind of stuff, and you know, these great big ropes, you know, going like this, and You see these boats going by, but the contractors told us what that was gonna cost. And the expense of that, we were gonna have to move all our utilities over there to get that, because we don't have any of that there now. And it was just too much. And it also caused some problems, because we had slips that we would lose over there, which was that's a big part of our revenue, so we need that, those slips for that. And then we looked at the existing location. And the existing location is really the only one that makes sense. We would have to duplicate things if we were to try to do, like, some people are all fired up about a restaurant. We're not. We're agnostic about a restaurant, but they're saying, why don't we build a restaurant over here and then just do the marina? Well, that would actually cost more, because that thing has got its own set of problems. And for all of you who are ADA people, how many people have gone to the bathroom over there? We'd have to have an elevator. We'd have to have all kinds of stuff over there. So that's how we kind of settled on the location that we're at. We've also had a lot of people ask questions. They said, why would something like this cost $1,100,000? And that's a price tag, if you haven't heard it. Why would it cost that much? Well, first of all, 3,500 square feet about, all in with the deck and all that.
2,800, well, with the deck, yeah, with the deck, 35.
So it's about 3,500 square feet. I just want you to ask yourself, what does a house on the lake at Heritage Lake cost at 3,500 square feet? You know, it's 500,000-600,000 anyway. And this is a commercial building, and it's got all the commercial things that we have to have. They're required by the state of Indiana. We have to have high-end, high-efficiency HVAC stuff. We've got to have special insulation. Everything's got to be at that higher level because of the commercial use. And in addition to that, we've got some ideas that we're going to be sharing with you, the value of that commercial stuff for the people that we try to help here. You know, the charities that have events there. Has anyone in here worked those charity events? How many times have you had a breaker blow? Okay, that's not going to happen anymore, but that's going to be an expense. And sometimes you get bad weather and all that kind of stuff. We're going to fix that, because there's going to be a thing over the top that's going to be able to protect the people to be able to have it inside. They're even going to be able to clean stuff after they're done using it, instead of schlepping a dirty thing into their car and going home and have to do all that. So we've got a lot of great things that we're going to be able to help those people too. And I want to kind of go back a little bit into the board too. Sometimes you think, well, they're just community members, it's no big deal. We have a budget every year of $1,300,000. This is a big organization. And Ken, he manages how it gets spent. On the board, you know, we give him advice on what he's supposed to do with it, and we establish what the board wants in terms of the total. But it's $1.3 million. And because of the discipline that he has put in since he's taken this position, every year since I've been involved with the board, it goes 5 years, we have spent $100,000. It's actually $120,000 less than our budget. Now, I've seen it on social media. It's because we're idiots and don't know how to budget. That's not what happened. We do that on purpose. So at the end of the year, we know where we are from a revenue and tax standpoint, and then we buy equipment. And we tax it, we deduct the equipment that we buy in some respects. Some of it we can't expense, we have to amortize over time. But we're able to, what do we got? We got the new truck, we got the tractor, we got the new the playground thing we just did, the new shelter house. All these things cost money, but all those things also, we're managing our expenses every year because he's so tight-fisted. But we're not going to be able to do that for a short period of time now, because we're going to spend a lot of money on this marina. So we're going to be needing those monies to get us through the transition, which is going to be about 2.5 years. It's not a real long time. but it's gonna take us about 2.5 years to work through it. And it could even be 3, yeah.
The cost that you just quoted, does that include the contents and inside stuff?
Oh, yeah.
The million whatever includes all the equipment for the inside, all the furnishings for the inside, all the,
Yes, but it doesn't include the new cash registers, but that's a budgeted item that is within Heritage Lake budget.
okay.
And it doesn't include the new, yes, fuel pump. Boats. We're gonna have a new fuel pump. It doesn't include that, and that's gonna have to come out of our own Heritage Lake budget. And, I mean, inevitably, there's always a might as well stuff that comes up at the end, you know. And we'll get tagged for some extra things, because somebody's gonna say, well, why don't we do this? And you're mid-project, you have to do those things. But the $1.1 million tag includes freezers, stainless steel in a kitchen area, the big sinks, all that kind of stuff. But we're gonna have to defer some of that until later, because we're not gonna be able to spend all that money right now. But, so but that at that 1,100,000 includes all those things. Yeah,
So that 1 million, when you said it'll be taken care of, it'll be paid for over like 2.5 years or something?
it's probably gonna be more like 3 to get to the
How does
million.
that happen? Because of our surplus that we've had over the last year?
I'm gonna show you. I got a handout where we're gonna show you our cash flows and how it's gonna work. And it's really, it shouldn't really put us in very much of a squeeze, but there will be a danger period, and the danger period is between approximately February of 2020 and the same date of 2022. And the reason that's a dangerous period is that's the period where our reserves have gone down from about 680,000 to between 90,000 and 120,000. So, now, we have never had any kind of problems, at least in my tenure. We haven't had any problems where those types of sudden expenses would come on us, but we have to manage that, and we've got to be very, very careful. And you're also going to see that we have flexion built into our expenditures that will allow us to pull back and not make payments as much as we're intending to make. And the idea is, for Armageddon, we're going to have that flexibility to do that. And that difference is enormous. It's like $120,000 a year we can pull back and not pay. Yeah.
Why are we pushing this now when there's obviously other infrastructure items needed at Heritage Lake? I mean, our roads are horrible. I know you're gonna say the county handles the roads, but the county, this came up 5 years ago when the county said, no, those roads were never built to county specs, we're not going to do anything. I mean, there's some courts that we can't even write our.
I know that's true, but we are prohibited by our covenants to spend our money on
And
that.
then also we got a.
Prohibited by our covenants.
And then
We
got a
cannot do
clubhouse
it.
That's 50 years old.
I'm sorry?
A clubhouse that's right over here that's 50 years old, that's never been modernized. And, you know, I mean, I just see some infrastructure items that appear to be more needed than a marina.
I got that.
Can't be put on for a couple of years till we get these other things.
I got that. More than a year ago, at our election, in your magazine that goes out, we sent out to the community, through those methods, a questionnaire. That question was never fielded from anyone. I don't know if we would have had a different outcome than that, but the community did. They talked about the marina. And we had some people say, I don't want to do the marina. But it was about 90-10 against that. But we are way far into this right now. And we did our best to get community input. We put
the other areas that my concern for safety living on the water is, you know, I very rarely see a security out there. We don't have an adequate security boat. When we were over there registering our boat this year, they didn't even have it in the water.
Do we have inadequate security boats?
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I just know when I moved here.
You agree with what he said?
I disagree with the inadequate security on the water. I disagree.
I mean, we were out there on
I've
the,
seen one out there.
I think 1-1.
Yeah.
We live on the water, so.
Well,
I could show you a lot of money that's spent on water for security. We had 6 people out here over the holiday weekend, 6 officers. We got a newer boat that we purchased, was it last year? So,
It's not a small part of our budget.
If you're just looking for the
We
red
don't see
security
them. I
boat,
live right on,
But
right
they're-
across, you know, you can see my place from here.
We usually wave at them every weekend so far.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say, I'm out every weekend and they're out.
But I can assure you this, that there are more things that we need to be doing.
I don't wanna take up all time.
No, but it's fair, because the community needs to be able to speak about that. But we visited that whole idea when the committee was convened, so. But again, we're doing $1.3 million in budget, and it really is incredible that our board members do what they do. Now, the only thing I do is count. The other people do all these other things. And it is incredible, the service. Yeah,
Of that $1.1 million budget for this facility, how much do we have to borrow to make that happen?
in total borrowing, but it'll be revolving. It'll be 500,000. We're gonna put down 600,000. And you're gonna see all that. You're gonna see all that in just a few minutes. But it's gonna be in three tranches. The first one is gonna be this year, and then we'll have about the same amount early next year, and then possibly we may actually have reserves that we're gonna be able to finish the project off in 2020. But that one's iffy. It's probably gonna be 2021. You're thinking about something.
I'm just wondering, you know, if we've got some $500,000 or $600,000 in the bank, so to speak, why don't we wait 2 or 3 more years, bank some more, and then go after this?
I think you're gonna see by our models that that's not possible. Because you're gonna be able to see 5 years of our investments, and they're flat. They're flat because we're investing in equipment at year end, you know, the 100,000 that we save each year, 120,000. But if we can't grow it fast enough, and the inflation of the good is increasing at a rate faster than we can save. Now, there's people who can argue, we could run into deflation, things are gonna go down and all that, I got that. But hey, we gotta make some decision. So, that's what we're doing. I'm gonna pass out something here, Ken, I may have gotten too few copies. Can you get this here for me?
sure.
Maybe 30? Sure. What I'm gonna pass out to you right now is, this is gonna show you, it's a little kind of wonky, so I'm gonna be talking about our accounting and all that. But I think it's important that everybody understands. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's the same one I showed for those who were here for the second time.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Can you confirm the square footage again?
Square footage.
2,800 covered and then. Can you confirm the square footage?
2,800 undercover.
Yeah, I was thinking 2,800 without the boundary. Yeah, 2,800 covered, 40, something like that, 3 with the porch.
43 with the top.
Okay.
Does everybody that needs one got one?
I need one.
You don't?
I need one.
Okay, Ken's shooting them right now. All right, let me just talk about what you're going to see on here, and then when you get your copies, you'll be able to view it. The thing that keeps me up at night is worrying about our cash flow. And it's no different than what goes on in your house. You look at what you got coming in, you look at what you got in reserves, you're projecting out what your expenses are going to be, and that's your cash flow. Can you meet those responsibilities? And all of us on the board feel like we're stewards. So we're guarding cash flow as much as we can. So what I did is I had our CPA run highs and lows of our cash balances. Now, these are not the investment monies. It's just the cash, our money comes in, our money goes out. So you're gonna see highs and lows over those years. Then you're gonna see the investments and what they've done. And there's one aberration, and it's gonna show you the year that we spent a bunch of money on equipment. And it's gonna jump off the page how our cash flows work when you see that. And then it's gonna show you our income. And our income is steady Eddie. It's been like this as long as I've been here. That's not very long, but it's always the same. Ken's people beat the bushes and collect, what they collect, from people for our assessments, our boat fees, our campgrounds, our slips, the pool, all the marina, all these things bring in revenue to us, and it doesn't vary, but 30 or 40,000, 50,000 a year. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but in $1.3 million, that's almost a rounding error. So it's not a really, really big deal. Our expenses, they've also been fairly remarkably steady. Now, you're going to see in that year, when we made that investment on the big equipment, you're going to see that our expenses went up. But you're also going to see that our taxes went down. You getting that? So we time our purchases at the end of the year to manage our taxes. It's not perfect. Some things you buy, you can deduct. In CPA talk, you call that expensing. Other things, you have to depreciate over time. And different assets have different depreciation schedules. Some of them are 5-year property, some of them are actually 30-year property, 30 plus for buildings like this. You're going to see depreciation show up in here, and it looks like income to us. And what it is, it's like negative taxes. You got some more of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when everybody gets it, we're going to go to the page. I'm actually stalling.
I don't know.
Everybody got them? All right, first, at the top, you see the years, 2015 through 2019. And then general checking. And that's basically our checkbook. And you can see the high and low. 504,000 and 18 in 2015. Okay? Now let's go to May 2019. Look at that high. And look at that low. That's because we haven't really spent our money yet. I mean, our low is 474,152. We haven't spent our money yet. And that's because our big spending period is in the summer. Because we're playing. And we also bring in a bunch of new staff to come in and do part-time work for us. And the Ken's people were busting their hide, cutting grass and doing all the stuff that they do during the summertime. And then if you look at our investments, look at how steady they've been over the years in terms of variation, high and low. The only aberration is in 2016, and that's where we either bought the truck or we bought the tractor. I don't know which one, but it was a big purchase. Then go to 17, 18, and 19. Those investments are steady. Now, of that sum, the $688,920 was the low of this year. That is the money. The $600,000 is what our downstroke is going to be on the marina. We will be paying out of our money before we access borrowed money. Okay? Then if you look at the income again, it is so steady. It is so steady that I'm comfortable that the projections that we've made, we are going to be able to manage without any challenges as long as we continue to be fiscally tight on our expenses. So, For those of you who have projects that you would like for us to do, or other things that you would like for us to do. They may be very, very good projects, and the board may have to say to you, no. But it doesn't mean never. It means not now. That's all that it means. Because we got to get through this, and getting through this also means recovering our resources so we build up that war chest again. Yeah.
So this is the first meeting I've been to, so you may have covered this before, but with a low interest rate environment today, why are we not borrowing more of it instead of using cash?
We can't.
Okay,
Our rules keep us from doing it.
wow.
We can't borrow more than 10% of our previous year's budget. That's Indiana statute.
Okay,
You want that,
yeah.
don't you? You want? Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to what you were touching on earlier about, and I talked about it a little bit about moving it back, why not, again, wait till we get some of the funds so that, what if we had an emergency? What's our, I don't know what our emergency fund is. If something
Right now,
came
it's
up
about 800,000.
to where we had to do something, another tornado come through and some of it wasn't covered, I'm just going hypotheticals out there, because if we do this the way I read this, we're gonna be operating so low and so close on budget the next 3 years, that if something happened, would we have the funds to cover it? I mean, I'm not a financial guy, so
I am, and I got no answer to that. Who knows? I would say that anyone who looks at our books would say that we have extraordinary cash position, almost foolish cash position. But if Armageddon comes, we got a problem. And we're only going to have about between 90,000 and 120,000 of playroom. So when you see the aggressive paydown of these loans, I mean, we are paying it down like lightning. 2 years and 5 months. We would have been delighted to have borrowed at the interest rate we're in now, but we can't. We can't. Yeah.
So the 10% we're allowed to borrow, is that 10% of previous year's income?
No, it's a previous year's budget. Budget is different than income. Income's what we got in, budget's what we budgeted. And they're not always the same thing.
Okay, so I don't see that number here, so,
It's close to $1.3 million.
so, if it's $1.3 million, then that's about $130,000.
Right, but it happens to be that for this year, it's only 119. Yeah.
So you're saying you're gonna borrow $119,000, $120,000 a year for the next 3 years? Is that-
No. I think we're gonna be able to do the last thing in cash. And when you see it, you're gonna see, when you see the model, because we pay it off so fast. Does everybody remember the boat fees? Nobody likes the boat fees, okay? How many years do they go? 4. We pay it off in 2.5. Guess what? We got 1 more year of boat fee and a half a year of boat fee cash. That is 59, 69, 79. That is at $84,000. That's a lot. So look, I'm a guy that counts stuff, okay? But it's important. I'm doing the very, very best that I can. And I don't have any hesitation in recommending this to my community. One that I live in. And you guys can come and scream at me and wave your fingers at me if you think I did a bad thing or something like that. But this thing can work for us. So anyway, that's what I think, and I'm using every ability that I have in my experience to do this thing right. And I think we're in a good spot. All right.
Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. I can see you're trying to be creative. But I'm the numbers guy too.
Yeah.
And I was here when both fees were $50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was here when they jumped radically because the covenant vote didn't go through. And then they've gone up at least once or twice since then to where they are now.
Right.
I own 2 boats. I'm gonna have to give one up if this fee increase goes through.
You might have to.
How many more are like me?
I don't know.
Have you checked?
I don't know. If you're a numbers guy, you know what it would take to survey. Well, we can't even get 15% of our community to answer our letters. How would we know?
I understand how difficult that is here.
Yeah.
But if you get a 15 or 20% response, you could protect the rest.
I would be in shock if people who have votes would. But I'll just stipulate that you're right. But we are not taking the vote fee for this. We are taking the increase. Only. We're not taking the vote fee. We're only taking $60 per vote, $30 per slip, and $30 per, what do they call this thing? Campground. Okay? Is there volatility? Sure. Could there be a boo-boo in my estimates? Sure. What you don't know is I counted 840 votes instead of 900. But it could be. Hey, I got two of them too.
Well, it hurts, Jim, because when we increased the vote fees the first time, there was then, it is now, and there will be a tax on those of us who use the water.
Right.
Everyone else who lives out here skates on that tax. And so we're no longer in association with equal distribution of cost. We're being taxed unfairly or disproportionately because we use the water.
I agree with that.
And that's not how this community was designed.
I agree with that.
But the community was designed that way because of the covenants.
Well, I agree, the covenants are a problem, I agree with that.
Well, that's
Okay, and you're working on fixing
because of the financial problem.
Well, we have, there's a lot of resistance in here to changing covenants, and this, all people who do not have watercraft get the benefit of a new marina, because we've had real estate people talk in these sessions about what the impact that it could have on the appreciation of our property, because the community will be more attractive. We've had realtors tell us, please, we like this, okay? But the other people aren't paying. And they don't want the covenants to change. So it's a conundrum. And until we can get that done, we as a community can't make decisions ourselves in terms of what we want to do. Because it's the people who are not here that are controlling our destiny.
But let's just be brutally honest, if we may. Until the covenants can change or will change, if ever, we're being taxed disproportionately. That's the
Correct.
problem.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Can I just interject one quick thing here? So for those of you that aren't aware, we're referencing the covenant, and you're wondering, what does that have to do with this? What it has to do with is our ability to raise a special assessment or just a basic assessment increase depends on us being able to get 2/3 of the entire community to vote yes on that. And just like every time we send out the covenants for the change to help mitigate that by allowing the community to vote in a more realistically achievable way. Until we can do that, we're never going to be able to raise the assessments, right? Even through a community vote, because we barely get 50% of all people to return the ballots, let alone get 2/3 of all lot owners to actually vote yes. So that's what the reference is with the current covenants, which is also an issue that we're out right now actively pursuing. So if you haven't voted, you can talk to me after this meeting or make sure that you cast your.
But it's unrelated.
I'm curious.
But it's unrelated.
How many people in this room have voted against or for?
We don't care what you vote.
Just
Just vote.
yes,
Just
for the covenants. Okay, so about half of you have voted.
No, more than that. How many have not? That'd be easier. Okay, so we've got,
Why not? I'm gonna tell you right now that I'm on the election committee with my wife Deb, and I never pass up an opportunity to try to get a vote. So if any of you would like some information to take back.
or vote here.
Or vote here, I have prepared a little package that has our letter. It's basically an appeal from Deb and I, begging you to vote. And then some information, so if any of you have not voted.
But you have to live here for so long before you can vote.
As long as you lived here.
When did you move here?
Yeah.
May?
This year?
Yeah.
You can't vote.
That's one of the problems we've run into, is people who have moved and didn't vote now it's hard to get a hold of them. So
They still have a right to vote, even though they don't live here.
we're really trying.
But those of you who want a ballot,
Please,
actually, it's called a petition.
yes.
I think the exclamation point here on this particular covenant vote is the boat owners have shouldered the majority of the fee, or of increases. And
You're exactly right.
if the people don't like that, you need to vote to have the covenants changed, so that all people can share in the expense of things in the community.
But you said it was $60 a vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, that's your situation.
Same kind of boat fee.
Yeah.
$60 a boat.
No, the boat fee itself is $254.
Right, 250, but you're just adding, you're
250,
adding 60 more.
We're adding 60 for 4 years.
Okay.
Well, in your economy, that's not a challenge.
Yeah, it's-
Okay? But it is in some people's.
You get
I had a
two
person-
votes, gonna go to three votes.
I had somebody in the office was crying about it. I now feel terrible.
Now, is that really gonna come off in 4 years, or is it gonna continue like Market Square Arena,
Look,
that 1% tax is supposed to go away that never did?
Chris and I have talked about this a lot, because and because once the camel gets his nose under the tent, it doesn't go away, okay? Well, we intend to pass on to the subsequent boards our commitment. We can't control future boards.
Right, right.
But this board says it's done in 4. And if we get done earlier, we'll stop it. But we're not going to get done earlier.
Right.
We're not going to get done earlier. Yeah. How much is it?
Am I not right? Tell me if I'm right or wrong. We had a $200 maintenance assessment increase. We could cut the boat fees in half.
I'd have to do the math. Let's see, that'd be, 200 would be, is that 600,000?
Easy.
236, yeah, 200 would be 600,000. Yeah, we could do that. We
Easy.
could do that, but we can't.
I know,
Our community just won't do it.
I know. But and I think the 50% of the people responding on voting is high.
Jim,
I was trying to be kind.
Bruce, you have a question?
How about 30?
I was just gonna say, why can't there be a sunset clause, and you gotta make the motion to increase the fees, why can't it come with a sunset clause so it automatically stops? Just-
I think we could do that, but I don't think we could bind the other board to that, because then they would just vote to raise the fees.
If it's a rule that's already there,
Well, let me,
they would have to vote to not let it in.
when you look at the math of how we're operating, other than inflation, our revenue can handle us for quite some time, because we're at about $1.20 more than we need. All right, but then we do the investments at the end to save taxes and all that happy stuff. So for the foreseeable future, our revenue's okay, but later on, there's going to be a need, and we have to resolve this somehow. You can't save your way to prosperity. You just can't do it.
I was just talking about the $60 increase, and
We can say that. We can say that in the spirit of the board and all that kind of stuff, and it sunsets and all that. We can say that, but we can't bind the future board.
Yeah, any rules or bylaws, anything except for covenants can be changed by the board. So we can heavily persuade the next board to keep our word, that this is only going to be 4 years. And hopefully that will happen. We, as a board, can't guarantee that because we all run on 3-year terms or less.
if you guys do it, they would have to undo it, that would. be-
Correct.
It puts more pressure on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the fee part is yet to come. We still have to vote on the fees.
Right.
That's unrelated to the go, no-go on the project. Yeah, you're next. I'm wanting her, she's been waiting.
Oh,
Yeah.
2 quick questions. The investments, you're usually allowed to borrow against investments depending on the rate.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, does that eliminate the cap or add to the cap of being able to borrow money? Because you're basically borrowing from yourself, right? Are the investments a type like an Edward Jones or that Merrill Lynch?
No, they're in various banks.
You can't borrow, you can or cannot borrow from that?
Yeah, we could pledge them, but it's borrowing.
Well, yeah,
So why don't
I mean, you're gonna pay interest, but you pay interest only.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Why wouldn't you put it in whole life and borrow back against it?
Put it
Like
where?
in whole life insurance?
Well, we got 3,000 people, I'd have to get applications for it. I sell insurance, by the way, anybody want to?
As a board of a company buy that as an organization?
We just can't do that right now. Front-end charges for cash value life insurance would eat us up in the first 2 years. And
The other,
Jim, you got a question too? This poor woman's been waiting here for a long
Yeah.
time. We'll go back to you.
I'm sorry.
Well, when the gentleman first brought up the increase in boat fees, that's the first I've heard of it. Is that something that's been coming out in these meetings?
Yes.
Because I have not heard that before. So starting next year,
2020,
you're
boats go
expecting
60 for 4 years.
Each boat is.
Each boat.
additional
Anything's got a motor on it.
Additional $60.
Any slip rental, $30. Any campground rental space, $30. All for 4 years.
And did I just now hear that $60 isn't set in stone, it could be higher?
Oh, no. It's $59,000 in my plan. Now, we got that plan. It's just it's a process to get that done.
Are those the only user fees that are affected? Will there be any on, like, non-motorized boats or?
No, not that we
Pool
propose.
use or any of that?
Nope. Now, but then there's fundraising ideas, like for somebody that wants to step up or something, and maybe they want to memorialize what they did. We might have like a wall of fame or something like that, or, where people give a grand or $2,000 or something like that. Or maybe we want to put bricks down in the concrete. Ooh, that's going to raise the price, isn't it? I'm sorry. But personalized bricks, or we might come up with a title sponsor, Maybe we call the marina something for 4 years or 5 years, For $500,000, we take it, right?
And just another quick question, and I know it really doesn't have anything to do with what's going forward, but did Blake put a decent amount of money in the marina just a few years ago? How much was spent? And if it's
Do you remember?
deteriorating
What's
so
that?
badly, why was that money spent?
All right, I don't know if you've looked at it or not, but the grade next to the marina comes down towards it. And over the years, it has rotted out the bottom of it. And if you look behind the walls and saw it, I haven't, I'm taking people's word for it, okay?
Did they not know that when they put money into it just a few years ago?
They did what they could do. They like put, tried to make these things keep from falling down, and then they diverted the water away from it, which was helpful,
I will say the only thing that we have done since I've been here is we've added some white trim board, and that was just to cover up rotted wood, and we've painted the building. That's,
Changed some of the interior a few years ago.
I can't speak to this. I've only been here 5 years.
The new being door. Let me say something.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something to the gentleman back here that talked about the increase in the boats. And we've been here for a long time, and we've seen so many different boards and different attitudes on the boards. And about 15 years ago, the attitude in the whole community was, we want to cut everything. We want to cut costs. We don't want to spend any money on anything. The board arbitrarily that year did away with all the fees, and it devastated our financial flow. There were people in this meeting, this room was packed, screaming and yelling at the board, you can't do this, you can't do this. They did it anyway. And it took us 3 or 4 years to recover from that. So when they talk about adding $60, I don't want to see it go up any more than anybody else does. But I just look at it like it's a tank of gas. It's one night out eating dinner. I think you have to put all of it in perspective. I give these guys a lot of credit. I've never seen a board take it this far on the covenant change. God knows we're all putting our efforts into this, and we're hoping that all this work we're putting into it to get enough for a quorum for one time in 50 years to actually get a quorum isn't for naught, because we've put endless hours into this project. These guys have put endless project hours into this project. And we can all second guess every little part of it, we're going to. There's gonna be parts about it I don't like, there's gonna be parts about it I think are wonderful. So I think we gotta give the board and this committee, who's put a lot of effort into this thing, while we all sit back and come to one meeting and say, well, why don't we do this, why don't we do that? These guys have really reviewed the entire project wholeheartedly. So my attitude is, whatever they decide to do on this thing, I'm gonna back them. And if it means an extra $60, okay, I don't wanna do it, but I'll do it. And it might be that we won't go out to dinner one night, so we can pay for that extra $60. But I have to give this board credit. I think I've seen so many. And this board has done more for us in the last 2 or 3 years than we've had in a long time. So I give you a lot of credit for that. My 2 cents worth.
But we don't want to belittle the issue that you raised, and he's not intending to do that.
No, not at all.
And I also think everybody ought to know, full disclosure, when I put forth the financial model for this, I mean, the board wasn't real happy with the $60. Because the questions were asked, what about the people who are challenged, that don't have the freedom that some of us other ones do? But we got to do it. We can't lay naked for a long period of time with debt and not restore our resources. We've got to get that money back in the coffer for the very reason you raised. We've got to be able to put a legacy forward where we're going to be able to respond come what may, like we are right now. We are pig iron underwater with how much money we got right now. It is, I mean, it's just like, it's coming out of us. But we got to get back to that. And it's going to take us 8 more years to do that. That's the back part of the project.
Just for the record, I would rather give you $300 or $400 cash up front for that cost than have the fees go.
We'll take it.
Qualify if all of my neighbors kick in the same way.
Well, that's not gonna happen. You'll be the 1 out of 10 people.
But I ask all of you, you're going to see in your assessment bill in January and March that there's going to be a request for voluntary contributions for the marina. And we hope.
And I agree with that, it's just that procedure there, and it's because a lot of people, like I donate to the fireworks. I mean, there's a lot of people that would donate to a good project.
He told me that, and I couldn't believe it. I figured both because they don't respond to anything else, but they do. A lot of people give us money for fireworks.
One thing I'd like you to know, I think we mentioned this in the last 2 meetings. Bringing this proposal to you as a community, we can't tell you all the other things that we've thought of to raise money for this. And if we raise enough money through other forms, and we've got a lot of great ideas, and maybe some of you have some great ideas that we can take. This whole thing may change for the better if these things happen. The first one was, when you get your fees, there's going to be a slot on there that you can donate $10, $100, maybe if you had a great year, $1,000.
Or $5,000.
We may get surprised. We may get surprised. If you recall, when the pool was built, there was a very generous donation for that pool. Now, boy, it sure would be nice for this marina to get the same kind of donation, but we can't count on that. So we're bringing you reality, and hopefully we'll be pleasantly surprised by some of the things we try.
Can I say something, Jim?
No. You can speak there. Come on, you can always talk.
Something, I said. That's the word I want to say, something. No, I've been here 21 years. I remember when we paid $45 for boat fees. And we had 1,200 boats registered out on this lake. 1,200. Today we've got close to 1,000 registered. 999. When we raised that fee from $45 to $200, it went down to $800. We lost 400 boat fees. We're going to lose some here too.
There will be some attrition that way.
We know that.
But when you start getting 1,200 boats on this thing, it gets more dangerous. We've been damn lucky we haven't had any serious injuries. And they built this clubhouse, in case you don't know it, with nobody knowing about it except the board. Put this thing together that you're sitting in. We're doing something different. We're letting everybody know what we're doing to the marina. Just to give you an idea.
Thank you.
So have you impacted if they lose 20% of the boats in the next 4 years? how
I've
that's
done,
gonna
I've done
impact?
sensitivities to look at that.
Okay.
But with the direct answer is we are paying so much in advance to prepay this, we got a place to hide if things
Okay.
slow down, okay? So we might go 5 years, or 6 years, or 7 years, instead of 2.5, if we have to. Make sense?
Yeah. As
Okay.
long as you plan budgeted for it. I mean-
Well, hey,
If we
I
could
worry
lose-
about this.
Yeah, if we lose 20%, that's, we're down to 800 boats again, that would really impact the boat fees, because
Well, it wouldn't be just the $60.
it's a 250.
Yeah, and that would be our 100,000 that we made, the extra. So, and just one last thing, just so everybody knows. Our assessments do not cover Heritage Lake expenses. If not for the boat fees and the other fees, we couldn't make it. So if just on the basis of fairness, we need to somehow correct that over time. And right now, the only way to do that is through modification or recovery. Let me keep going so I don't keep you here all night. The last thing, well, not the last thing, it's near the last thing. We're going to go through a period of budget austerity. And Ken's hearing this announcement tonight. I'm going to be proposing to the board that we cut our expenses by $60,000 next year. That's another 60. That's a lot. But we can do that. I've looked at each one of our budget centers, and we can do that. And if we do that, after taxes, that'll be $42,000 in cash to us. It will be, because we're going to have to pay taxes. Because when you cut your expenses, your taxes go up. It's a weird thing. But that will accelerate how quickly we can get our reserves put back. And then what I'm hoping is that we will have established within our board, not that we're not tight-fisted now, because we are, as you well know. John works very, very hard, well, you both work very, very hard on projects. We appreciate that. We can instill in future boards a discipline that's even further than what we have right now. Again, we'll say no, but just not now. Okay? Additional funding, the Lake Committee is not doing the feast and ski anymore. And maybe if we can get people in the community to volunteer, which is what is at the heart of the problem.
Amen to that.
If we can get people to volunteer, we can do feast and ski. And we can get 10 Gs plus every year doing that. You've had people call you and ask for sponsorships, didn't you? Mm-hmm. But we're not doing it, so we're forfeiting those sponsorships. So if we can get people fired up to do that, that'll be a great thing. Personal contributions I've mentioned. Recognition contributions I've mentioned. It's also important that everybody understand there's stuff going around social media about this restaurant that is just false. What you're hearing on social media, it's false. And there is nothing in our projections that presume any monies coming from any restaurant to pay this thing off. None, not a penny. And as far as the restaurant is concerned, we have had no conversation with any restaurateur about taking over a restaurant at Heritage Lake. We have not had a single conversation with anybody. We also, as a board, as a community, we have never talked about running the restaurant ourselves. None of this is true. So go away from here knowing that. There's no budget in this that we're going to be making money on that. But we can do this. And here's the timer. These guys are busting our chops over wanting to start right after Labor Day. Yes, right after Labor Day.
So our boats would have to be out by then?
Nope, nope, you can still get gas. You just can't go in and see Lois, and you're not gonna be able to get popped. And for those of you who like to sit there and sip coffee, and that coffee's really not very good, I don't think. But when that kind of stuff's not gonna be there, because hopefully that building's not gonna be there.
And you can't get gas either.
Yes, you can.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Power.
Yeah, we'll just make that thing work. In fact, Lois has proposed that we get one of those little construction trailer
Oh,
and just squeeze stuff in there.
a mini one.
You want to know what does anybody know what an illustrated dictionary is? What's an illustrated dictionary?
Yeah.
Every time you look at a word, it's got a picture of whatever it is. Well, if you look at the double word, pot stirrer, there's pictures in it. We expect that our 600,000 downstroke will be gone before the end of the year, because it's real labor intensive getting that thing up, and we want to be able to get it up while the weather's good, so we can get a head start. And so our first financing taste will happen in December, probably. It could happen a little earlier than that, but I don't expect it to. Our fees and assessments don't begin until really April, almost May. And remember the cash flows you see? Look at the lows on cash flows. It'll be the first data element at the top where it shows our balance. See that one of them is down in the 30s.
38.
Okay? I'll tell you when that is. February. That's when it is. January and February here are really bad because we stopped collecting slip, we stopped collecting all the different things, and then the juice comes on in April. And then we'll have $1 million. In fact, that's about what we got right now. But it's going to go away. It's just the way it works. Okay? So there's going to be a little tension during that period of time. So we're going to hold back some of the investment to make sure that we're going to be able to meet payroll, and that's not going to be any problem for us. The target completion is early April. I just moved it out some, gave it a little more room. And
Move it back.
And so we think, at the very least, we're going to be able to operate come springtime. It may not be, oh, I didn't tell you about this. He's going to show you this picture. You go down this hall, and on the left, you've got world-class bathrooms, indoors. Indoors. Has anybody used the ones out by the... Wear your shoes. I don't know about the women's room, but the men's room is pretty bad. But we're going to have these really, really nice indoor bathrooms.
Air conditioning.
It's going to be air conditioned. It's going to have these huge space for us to do marketing of Heritage Lake attire, and we're just going to do a better job of merchandising in there. Yeah.
We'll probably get into this in the video, but I'm just curious, how many bids did you get?
How many did you send out to solicit?
We sent out 5 or 6, and we got 3 responses.
Yeah.
2 responses, 3.
And
This is a design build also, which isn't necessarily a handsome way to build a property. It's a design build, which all contractors don't have interest in working with design builds.
So if I can clarify that a little bit, it's a design build from the standpoint of we're going to use engineers and stuff to set some design specifics and parameters and stuff. But once we get the construction documents done, we're going to be looking for local people that want to be involved in the project to submit bids to do private portions of the project and stuff.
so, yeah, that'll be good for people looking for work around it.
So is the contract presumably with Grant, is it now, or will there be a not to exceed price?
No.
So 1.1 million conceivably could go up?
Of course.
And
It could go down. Not likely.
are there performance clauses to make sure they get done in April? Those kind of things?
No. We did that, actually, these are our neighbors. People live here on the lake, and they're professional at what they do. Their resume is as long as your arm.
We're motivated.
Yeah, you don't want you going by his place and waving fingers at him. I saw one, another hand.
Do you send
Yeah.
your address out?
Mine is 54 JB.
No, I mean, that-
That's his. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, last board meeting, this is to Mr. Miller's question about not to exceed. Did we not vote on as a board to award grant the project not to exceed $850,000?
That's only in this phase, yeah. Yeah, because we're going to be using our own money.
Since that question was asked, I want to make sure
Right.
it was clear.
Now, just so you understand that, the $850,000, what he's referred to, is that Brant is going to do as much as they can for the 850, 6 of which is us, that's our cash. 250 is financing, 850. We're not going to get it all done, so we're going to have to go back and get the additional amount later. Now, I think it's going to happen faster than we think. Any others?
Why don't we do the virtual walkthrough?